House has resumed. Members, the House is debating the second reading of the Immigration Amendment Bill. Darian Fenton has the call and there's just over 4.5 minutes remaining. Should she wish to utilise that opportunity?
I certainly do. Thank you very much,
Darian
Speaker.
Fenton.
I was very much enjoying talking about ghost ships and ghost asylum seekers, and thinking about it, I have been trying to understand the motivation behind this bill, because if you go right back to the beginning of the bill in the first reading, the regulatory impact statement that underpinned the proposed bill was that an assumption that 500 people could arrive in a mass arrival, all from the same country, all claiming asylum when they got here. And apparently that was based on the arrival in Canada of a steel-hulled vessel with 500 Tamils on board. And, you know, the minister has talked about this, and various ministers, John Key and others. But let's be clear about that particular incident. Those Tamils went to Canada because they have a well-established population of over 200,000 Tamils, principally around Toronto, and has for years been a major source of fundraising for the Tamil people. Now, but the bill, so we were talking about 500 1 minute, then we went down to 11. It's a bit of a difference there, and it's now proposed that there will be an SOP that the definition be increased to 30 or more. Now, from Labor's point of view, this doesn't change a thing about this bill. It doesn't change the fact that mandatory detention is not only internationally unlawful and inhumane, but it's completely unnecessary. We do not need this bill. And I can't help but think that John Key and his ministers have got a bit carried away when they've been meeting with the big boys and girls in the so-called country, the 5 white countries of the US, UK, Australia and Canada. I've even heard theories that John Key's done a deal about cyber security and national security biodata sharing, and I mean that might explain it, because this bill would be quid pro quo for the cost of joining that partnership. Of course, we'll never know, because John Key won't reveal anything. Apart from not remembering, he won't reveal anything, and he falls back on the defence of, likely to prejudice the security or defence of New Zealand, and not to mention that he's clueless. Clueless, that's right. I do want to express my disappointment about this bill, though, that the government has failed once again to listen to the 33 submitters, 32 of whom were opposed to this bill, from many respected organisations, both nationally and internationally, who all warn the government that this bill represents a turning point in our international relationships and will have consequences for our reputation as we align ourselves with the failed detention policies of the Australian government. So, we tried to be constructive about this, Mr Speaker. During the Select Committee process, I approached the Minister Nathan Guy on behalf of Labor to offer a multi-party, non-confrontational, pro-convention approach to the possibility of a mass arrival of asylum seekers as an alternative to this bill. Now, guess what? That offer was rejected. The government wasn't interested because they want to play politics with this bill. And I know also that others tried to help. And I want to acknowledge here former National Party Immigration Minister, Ozzy Malcolm. And let me be clear, Mr Speaker, he's no bleeding heart. He is no bleeding heart. And I agree when he says we should, those who seek to engage in an illegal activity to broach our borders deserve no comfort or special treatment. But Ozzy Malcolm's advice to the government was this: apply the rules of the convention that we've signed up to. The rules work if they're applied properly. Don't make up your own rules, government, but that's what we're doing. And according to John Key, we face an imminent threat of mass arrival. He wants us to be fearful that a leaky boat will turn up on our shores any day. And of course we know that's pretty well possible. But John Key doesn't even seem to understand the basics of the conventions. The basic of the convention is that a person who's seeking asylum must seek asylum at the earliest opportunity. It is impossible to arrive in Australia, as that boat did last week, and then say to the Australians, we want asylum in New Zealand. So, Mr Speaker, this bill is unnecessary. It's an overreaction. We're not dealing with the real issues around migration and immigration. New Zealand is better than that.
David Bennett.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and on behalf of the National Party